That's cool.
Yeah.
Are the voters of Minnesota going to fall for Keith Ellison's BS?
Yes.
Boy, I hope not.
He accuses Fleet Farm of firearm straw sales. There's something, it smacks of being too entirely convenient a month before an election.
You think?
For a guy who was part of the defund the police movement, has not done a damn thing to curb crime. And all of a sudden, and you see who was pictured with them, the mayors.
Oh, yeah.
Right.
And it was such a blatant political move. Now, that doesn't erase the idea that did, in fact, Fleet Farm knowingly sell to clients they should have suspected were straw buyers. I'm unclear as to the legal obligation of the retailer.
I am not unclear.
Good.
Fleet Farm followed all the ATF rules and alerted the ATF to all of this.
Oh,
and
yes.
they do not, Ellison does not have a case, and this will be dismissed right away. It's right there in the story, and I printed out a whole bunch of stories. This comes from a Fleet Farm spokesman, but there's no way they're lying. It's also worth noting, quoting now, that at the time of the tragic shooting in St. Paul, described in the Attorney General's complaint, we were told by the U.S. Bureau of Alcohol, Tobacco, Firearms, and Explosives that our team members had done nothing wrong and compiled with all applicable gun laws.
Yeah, I read that part. There, you're talking about the truck park shooting.
One of the firearms did end up in the truck park shooting.
Right.
You're right.
Right.
But when you buy multiple firearms like this, you have to have a permit to buy or a permit to carry, and the ATF is alerted. They know.
Mm-hmm.
So they knew about all this. So if you want to go after anybody, go after the ATF and the gun laws.
But it's so precious of this phony to come out with this now. If you knew about this, why didn't you do it 3-4 months ago?
Right.
Well, and the other thing that the other thing that makes it entirely precious is that it's Fleet Farm. One of the owners ran for office. His name escapes me. The guy up in Brainerd.
Mills.
Mills.
Right?
Yeah.
Right.
Mills ran for office in
Stuart
Mills, and as a Republican, if I'm not mistaken.
Yes.
And the whole ambiance of Fleet Farm smacks of law-abiding people who don't fall for this BS. So he attacks Fleet Farm only to discover that the ATF itself has said to Fleet Farm, "I don't think you did anything wrong here. You crossed your T's and dotted your I's." And Ellison is a tremendous disappointment as an attorney general. This is the first foray he's made into any kind of crime situation, and it's a phony one. It's a phony one. It was strictly staged. You had Melvin Carter standing there with him. What the hell does Melvin have to do with it?
No, Melvin brought all this on.
Well, then Melvin is wrong too.
Melvin is the one that went to Ellison and started the ball rolling on all of this.
Melvin, he had 3 restaurants in a row robbed Saturday night on University Avenue at gunpoint. This is everything. Doesn't everything seem like a lie?
Yes.
Oh, yeah.
Yes.
No, it absolutely is a lie.
I'm talking about in the world.
Everything.
Yeah.
Yep.
Well, welcome to Positive Thursday.
Yeah, feeling really good about it right now.
We were talking about this before we started recording, and I know I'm cynical, and I'll put my tinfoil hat on. That's fine. I don't trust the damn word that comes out of anybody's mouth anymore.
Neither do I, and I hate that feeling.
I do too.
Let me run something by you about this case, and I want to read a couple of quotes here from Ellison. First of all, he said Fleet Farm negligently was selling firearms to straw purchasers, aiding and abetting in these criminals and contributing to gun trafficking in Minnesota. He also said Fleet Farm has a duty under the law to spot and stop this behavior. Nevertheless, they continued to engage in straw purchase transactions. Okay, well, we've already established that Fleet Farm followed the rules. What's not mentioned here, and what I took away from this when I heard it last night was, so Ellison wants Fleet Farm and gun shops to profile, correct?
Yes.
Because this Horton character, who's already been convicted, by the way, only 18 months, which I'm outraged by, but I realize that's probably a sentencing guidelines here. But Horton's a black dude.
Right.
Do you think you can not sell a firearm to a black guy when all of his paperwork appears to be correct?
And can you imagine if you refused?
Oh, that's my point. Can you imagine?
And who would be the
Can
first
you?
one crying foul? It'd be Ellison.
Exactly. Exactly.
Well, the other dynamic that plays into the mystery is that these Mysterians like Ellison and Carter and the rest of them, they'll blame anything except the criminal.
Right.
Yep.
They'll blame crime on anything they can come up with except the individual who's responsible for the crime. That's merely an oppressed person who's been victimized by life in general, white patriarchy, and a systematic screwing over the years. Right. And so the criminals keep walking off scot-free, whether it's here or New York or wherever, for a variety of reasons, lax bail laws and what have you, because the people we have in place, the closer you get to the country's tallest buildings, believe criminals deserve a break. And if you're victimized by them, you're the criminal.
Mm-hmm.
And so here's another example of it. This staged theatrical chest pounding that, look what I've done, Minnesotans. I've corralled that evil Fleet Farm from selling guns.
Okay, number one, suing Fleet Farm is the equivalent in this state to suing Apple Pie or baseball.
It's like
Come on,
suing
man.
Dayton's.
Yeah, come on, man. You don't sue Apple Pie. You don't sue Fleet Farm. What was my point going to be? Go ahead. I forgot already.
I know what
Stop getting old, huh?
Yeah.
And these are all brought about by the type of people who have never set foot at a Fleet Farm.
No.
Right.
To buy a shovel or a broom or a power drill or whatever. It's the man's mall, damn it.
Are the same people who are buying this those kind of people too? Because I see people on Twitter buying this. You have to be so naive not to realize what this is.
Mm-hmm.
But that's the problem,
so politically unaware of how things work.
But John, it's going to work. You know damn well it will work.
It's going to work for some people. I agree, and I don't understand that. But
I remembered my point. You asked earlier, Joe, why did he wait till now?
Yeah.
The reason he waited till now is because this will not be resolved before the election.
Right.
Yeah.
That's why. So these are the headlines his campaign needs right now.
And the people who are naive will blame Fleet Farm, even
Absolutely.
though as it turns out, it sounds to me like they're in the right. There's no problem here, but we won't find that out until next February.
This
March
is the same conference, by the way, I was telling you, Joe, yesterday, where Ellison was standing there listening to Fry speak. And then when he said it's easier to get a firearm than it is to get a fresh apple at our city. And Ellison just rolled his eyes and, what the hell is he talking about?
Boy, I better move up my press conference a day or two. That's what Ellison.
Oh, right. Yeah.
And he wants Fleet Farm to be more stricter in the way they do business with firearms. I got news for you. Fleet Farm is very strict with their employees, and they self-audit all the time, and every store has to pass. And if they don't pass, they start over again.
I bought a new pellet gun there, and the guy was giving me the eyeballs.
Oh, way to go, Opie.
Pellet gun?
Well, you have to have one for varmints.
Yeah, I got a couple.
Yeah.
But the Fleet Farm and
listen to a story about a man named Joe.
selling firearms at Fleet Farm is a big deal for Fleet Farm, and they take it very, very seriously.
Mm-hmm. But guns getting into the wrong hands is always the fault of capitalism. It has nothing to do with the hands being wrong.
But this whole notion that this clown is now all of a sudden tough on crime, who are we kidding?
Well, that's the problem. It's going to kid a lot of people, as John pointed out that he's discovering. It's going to kid a lot of people.
He's only doing this because Schultz is beating him so far in the polls.
God, I hope so. Schultz is a good man. We have no evidence that he's not. I doubt that Schultz would pull this kind of stunt.
Oh, no way.
No.
He would be legit.
Well, no, because he's going to actually prosecute criminals, unlike the current attorney general.
Seems like everything's a lie, doesn't it?
It does.
We have not explored deeply enough food fraud, which I intend to get to today. And I was hoping that you captured some audio of our president
Oh, I did. Yes.
in Fort Myers yesterday. I was just curious, and I don't know the answer to this. But A, did you capture audio?
Yes.
Did you capture audio? And B, what I was wondering if I discover is if he used this opportunity to bring up climate change, which would have been disingenuous of him. So may I hear what you've captured?
If you could just give me one.
Oh, sure. I'm trying to stall here as long as I can,
Here we are. Here's
dragging
your,
out these various sentences.
Colorado River looks more like a stream. There's a lot going on. And I think the one thing this has finally ended is a discussion about whether or not there's climate change and we should do something about it. But folks, I also want to, Jill and I have had you all in our prayers.
There you go.
It's all
As
over the map.
DeSantis is standing right behind him.
That is calming. It ain't Al Green, but it's calming.
Your thoughts, Joe?
We live in a time when we're seeing elemental truth be denied.
Mm.
And when it comes to the climate change, it's a lie that's been told so often that it has become, for most people, truth.